All right. Hello, good morning. It's a good day. Yeah, it's been a really good morning. Didn't have the most amazing sleep last night. It's typical. I've been snoring a bit, and my partner asked me to sleep in the basement. But she had a bad night. I had a bad night. So now it didn't help. Anyways, really nice morning. It's coming into spring here in Norway, which is nice. Yeah, and we have a couple of things to work on today. So the vibe coding part is the Bubble and SWC plugin, where this person, Igor, sorry, asks to add an exclude option. So I think I already had that running for the Bubble plugin. It's kind of cool. Like I can just, like my daughter asks if I can make her some breakfast, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna prompt my AI and then I'll make you some breakfast, and when I get back it's implemented exclude paths for the Bubble plugin. Which is like, it's double nice because I don't really know how to implement Bubble plugins. Like I understand the concept, but there's a lot of like functions that you need to know of, and just like how to do it performantly and all of that. Anyways, so I think that's working. And then we're going to do the same for SWC plugin. And while we are doing that, we're going to play around with this this mutation thing. So let's bring up, I can't quite remember the API for this. Impact React.dev signals API. Okay, so let me just check first. You'll have to excuse me going off screen here. Yeah, maybe I can move this to, yeah, I think we can just add this. Let me just run the test. Like, it shouldn't affect anything. And this is just an addition, so git add, well, what did you change in the package JSON? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's bump the version to 2, and then git add, git commit, exclude for Bubble. Let's push that. Yeah, let's rather do this on this computer, so you can see what I'm doing. Let's see, do we have I think I have it here. Development observing components, that's the one. Let's see. Let's pull. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So let's fire up the let's see, is it, there we go. Oh, it's a little bit, is this a little bit big? There we go. Where are you, splitter? There we go. Okay, so let's open up SWC plugin. We're gonna open the transform, and we're gonna add that one, and we're gonna add that one. I want to add a new option called exclude. It should be an array of strings where each string represents a relative glob for paths to exclude during transformation. The Bubble plugin version of this used minimatch. What would be the equivalent implementation for this SWC plugin? Could you please make that happen? I think that's it. We're gonna use Claude for this. Claude is the one that actually implemented all of this in the first place, so what? That was interesting. Okay, so while that thing's working, let's see what it's doing. Let's just do this first, and then we can look at the mutation thing after. So I'll add an exclude option to the coding that uses the globe pattern match with the include a new exclude, add the globe pattern matching dependency. Globe set is a good Rust equivalent to minimatch. And globe set, add globe set as a okay, accept. I guess that's it. Like, I don't really know how to test this. But we can try to at least build it. SWC plugin. And cargo test. Well, how do I adjust cargo or cargo update? Oh, cargo. I can't even remember this. Okay, cargo, not cargo, cargo test. Needs to build it first. We can test this by just setting up a simple Vite project and link them. Oh. So let's do that. Let's set up missing exclude. Oh, nice. Can do this? Or are you still complaining? Oh, it's just slow. Ten passed. Okay, nice. So what we're gonna do is build this thing. I can't remember how to do that. I guess it's npm run prepack. And then we're gonna do the same for the bubble plugin. And then we're gonna see if we can actually test this. And we can use Vite because Vite shows us, has nice source mapping and stuff. Or I just trust it. Well, I guess we don't really want the source map, but yeah, let's just use Vite. Yeah, maybe we could even test it inside here. Let's see. So we're gonna do a yarn link on this one. Oh, then bubble plugin, yarn link. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna create this Vite demo thing here. I can never remember how to get started with Vite. Yeah, npm create vite latest. That's the thing. Let's just do React, of course. And then we can flip out to SWC, but let's try them. Well, we're actually going to use yarn here. It's weird how much better the yarn linking is compared to npm linking. I have always an error when I do npm linking compared to yarn linking. So let's yarn link the bubble plugin observing components. Sorry. And then we have our config here, and bubble plugin observing component. Bubble plugin. So import. Oh, that's interesting. Well, let's keep Vite project here. Let's open another one. Didn't I? Where are you? There you are. Transform. Where's the actual? I'm confused. Where's the actual code for the exclusion? Okay, now I'm seriously confused. Oh, I mean the sorry. Exclude. Where does it get? Yeah, create plugin. Why don't you have the? Didn't I build it? I don't think I built it. npm. Where is it? Is it npm run build? Okay, let's try again. There we have it. Okay, so we're gonna add import path. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. Exclude. We're gonna exclude a file here. So let's find something to exclude. New file. Test tsx export function test return hello. And then we're gonna use that test somewhere here. Cool. And then we're gonna be able to just say source test tsx, for example. And now I'm not sure why it's complaining. Why are you complaining? Isn't this typical? There we go, plugin. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna try to run this. 5176. And then that's fine. I expected that, but let's look at the actual files here. Or doesn't it actually create them now? Because they have... Okay. So let's just create a file call. just like that. And I'm going to change this to just do this. So what we should see now is we have the actual file, and then we have the app has the observer, and then does test have it? No, and there's nothing in test. Great, that actually worked. I think, yeah, amazing. That worked. Okay, so let's use the SWC plugin instead. VJS yarn, and is this the name of it? Yarn link SWC plugin observing. Now we're gonna have, let's see. Plugins. Now we're not gonna do this. Now we're actually gonna do SWC plugin observing components, and then it's gonna be import path will be observer. Import name, well, we don't need to do that. We should do exclude and then see if that works. Source test TSX. Let's see if that works. Well, let's try without it first and just see if it runs. Well, something's going. Okay, it ran it. Yeah, it added the observer to the test, but if I now insert this one. Ah, god damn it. Of course that didn't work. So now the question becomes, why didn't it work? Okay, so I'm gonna do one thing first, just to be perfectly sure. Because there is this cache. No, it didn't work. Okay. So I tried running the plugin with where are you, vite config? But it did not exclude transforming that file. This worked with the bubble plugin. So something seems to be wrong. Seriously? Yeah. Oh, I thought you would take care of that. All right. Bum, 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 bum. Oh. Okay. Okay, does it Did it fix it? Yeah, because it made a change in both lib test. Okay, let's just accept all of it. Not sure why this is showing as... Why is it so faded? It's weird. Okay, let's go to the... let's go to transform and cargo test first. Oh, there's something... I'm not feeling like there's something going on. Let's see. I think we're just gonna build it and test it. Was that it? Okay. Can I just refresh it, or? That didn't work. Well, let's just have to be perfectly sure here. Yeah, now it worked. Nice. But an app is still, yeah, has the observer. Fantastic, it's working. Okay, done. Let's close all. Let's just git ignore this Vite project. And then we're gonna stop this one, kill that terminal. And then we're gonna do a package bump on this one as well. Let's move that to 2. Exclude on STOC plugin as well. Push. So we're gonna add, there was a couple of interesting notes here. So yeah, I have a few, yeah. How to exclude. Your components. Yeah, let's make these similar. Default, optional. Let's see. You'll have a lot of components with a lot of props, and because of React relying on immutable, those props will very often change. That means you do not want to wrap every component in memo because you will more often than not compare props. When you build a reactive application where you have a root state that is mutable, for example with Mobx or Bonsify, let's just do Mobx, there is much less props passing, and the props passed are often mutable objects that will never change, but it's rather observed. In this world, it makes a lot of sense to make all components observers of React state and memo for optimal performance. The great thing is how the method of rendering changes. Component only render when the state they actually access changes. There will be no waterfall. Okay. Other benefits. So what did it say? You can now export components. Oh my god, I'm not feeling that great. Isn't that typical? Like I finally had like a really nice morning, and then yeah, let's try a little bit more. We'll see. It's the sun. I'm just gonna fix the sun. Let's see. Did I fix it? Yeah, enough. You can now use normal function. You can now export functions as normal. Yeah. And they show up with the correct name in React DevTools. And exporting with VS Code will read as two definitions of the component. Affecting jump to definition. This now there is only one definition for every component. Okay. Cool. Okay, let's add that as well. And both of them were built, right? npm run build. Then npm publish. Authy. And then run prepack, just to be perfectly sure. npm publish. So that would be 418, 185. Okay, and now we're gonna close this window and we are gonna see if we can find the Mobx. Do I have the Mobx here? Mobx observing components. No, I don't think I actually have it here. GitHub. Where Mobx React Observer. And then we're gonna end this by creating let's see, a PR for Mobx itself, which is gonna be exciting, to the main documentation. That's kind of cool. Mobx React Observer. So we're just gonna bump the versions here, basically. So this, let's add this 2 to 0, and then we're gonna change these ones. Yeah, let's do npm install here. Yeah, and I guess we should have options here I'm not sure what other I'm not sure what other kinds of like what, like I'm wondering if it should just have exclude here. But if we add another option, it's going to be a breaking change. So I think we're going to give it an actual option here. Options, exclude, and options like this. Yeah, I think this is what we're going to do. And then of course we need the same here. Okay, cool. And then we need to bump this version. Did I bump it? Yeah, I did. Okay, but we're gonna update the README for this. You know what? We're gonna steal. Yeah, I'm not sure if I even need to. Yeah, let's just do that. And then we do. Let's see. Let's do the same here. Cool. Let's let's see. Install, configure, SSR. Okay, so we'll make all components in your project not in your source folder in your project, not non-modules, not libraries. We'll make all we'll wrap we'll wrap all components in your project, not libraries. In the observer. Making observation completely transparent in Mobx. Other benefits. You can now export functions as normal and they show up with the correct name in React DevTools. When exporting cons comp VS Code will read that as two definition of Scala. In fact, it jumped to definition. Now there is only one definition. Let's see. Another benefit is instead of having multiple ways to observe, just create smaller components to optimize rendering. Okay, this is nice. Okay, cool. Git status, git add, git commit. Cool. And then we need to publish this one as well. Well, I guess npm build. No, there isn't any. Is there a build here? Can't remember. Oh, npm run build. Cool. Yeah, and then we're gonna publish. Dun dun dun. 243 333 do 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 do. In the observer, with the observer. Oh. Ah. With typo. With observer, making observation completely transparent with Mobx. Other benefits, you can now export functions and they show up with the correct name in React DevTools. When exporting with export, VS Code will read that as two definitions of the component affecting jump to it. Now there is only one definition for every component. Instead of having multiple ways to observe, just create small components to optimize rendering. And then, yeah, install SSR configure. Oh, what's that? I didn't see that part. Yeah, I don't think we actually need that example. But maybe we could compare. Before, yeah, this is nice. Before and after. So this would be const counter equals observer import observer from Mobx React Lite. How does this look? Okay, cool. Okay, nice. That's super nice. Git status, git and git commit. Examples. Okay, cool. Yeah, the name is, I should have changed that. Anyways, let's see. So what did Mr. Michel say? There's a plugin in Mobx setup installation docs and observer docs. Okay, let's try to find those. Mobx. Oh, here we are. Mobx. Docs. React. Installation. Yeah, okay. I assume it means that we could do. So this is like installation. What did it actually mean here? In the Mobx setup installation docs and the observer docs. Yeah, and this is for React, right? Yeah. Class-based. There are two types of React bindings. Personal. Okay, there are three types of React bindings. Also supports class components. And then I'm gonna make these actual Mobx React observer. There's a bubble SWC plugin that automatically that makes observation transparent in your code. That that makes components automatically observe. And then we're gonna make these links. This was a slow-paced stream. Let's see. That was observing components. Mobx React observer. And then we need to find Mobx React. Oh, that was archived. There are two types of React binding. Let's do. Let's see, packages, Mobx. I guess we can with primitives to manually apply observation. With primitives to manually apply observation. Bubble SVC plugin to automatically apply observation on components. What does it say in this other thing, Mobx React? I guess Mobx React support for class components. Maybe you shouldn't call it primitives. It's a little bit utilities to manually apply observation, but let's see plugin. There are 3 types of React bindings. This looks pretty good, right? Then we should probably reference copy link. Let's see. Commit. Yeah, propose changes. Add observation plugins as option for React bindings. As suggested by M. And then we should go to observation. Ugh. Okay, so let's go and find the other one. Docs, and that was observation. I guess React integration. That's what he meant. React optimizations. But often even faster in Redux. It's way faster in Redux. Yeah, okay. I think he meant React integration. Let's see how it actually looks on the website. React integration. Um, let's see. Where should we put that? Does this have a theme toggler? Like my eyes. It's the. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're going to put it quite high up here because it's kind of mind-blowing that you actually don't have to write this, right? Yeah, I think we're going to try that. So, wait, where was the... Oh, did I jump away from it? No. No, where did it go? Oh, there we are. No, this was Mobx React. Okay, I'm confused. Docs. React integration. Usage. I'm kind of excited about the new LLMs. I'm gonna, when the new Gemini 2.5 hits Copilot, I'm gonna use that to try to optimize the code for the plugins. How are we gonna do this? Usage. I want to write something about with the Mobx. What do we call it? Mobx React Observer. Copy that. Was it Observer? Yeah. Bubble SWC plugin. You will not need to manually apply observers to your React components, but this documentation is still valuable to understand how observation works in Mobx. Observers. But this documentation, it's mind-blowing that this hasn't been done before. Thinking like in retrospect. But this documentation is still valuable to understand. But it is still valuable to understand how observation works in Mobx. And but it is valuable to understand how observation works in Mobx. This documentation describes okay, this documentation describes how to manually apply observation to components. With the Mobx React Observer bubble, you will not need to manually to apply these observers. Regardless, it is valuable to understand how observation works in Mobx. Mobx observation works with React. Okay, this documentation describes how to manually apply observation to React components. With the Mobx React Observer bubble SWC plugin, you will not need to manually apply these observers to your React components. Regardless, it is valuable to understand how Mobx works with React. Is that a... I'm gonna do a little... can you make this text better? Let's see. Oh, look at you. This documentation outlines how to manually apply observation to React. However, by using that, you can automatically handle without manually. Still, look at that. Good job. They have to fix this. Like, I have to copy it twice. Okay, this documentation outlines how to manually apply observation to React components. However, by using the Mobx React Observer bubble SWC plugin, you can automatically handle observation without manual intervention. Still, understanding how Mobx observation integrates with React components remains valuable, even when leveraging automated solutions. Amazing. Mobx React Observer. And again, copy link as suggested by Mish MS. Propose change. Cool. Create pull request. Create pull request. This is very exciting. Like, I remember even in the beginning of Cerebral, we used Mobx, or we actually used Mobx state tree under the hood. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I want to share this. Look at us making the world a better place. Let's see, pull requests. Okay, cool. So I do want to do a little bit of coding as well. I want to implement this mutation thing, and it would be fun to play around with it. But yeah, this is what happens when you get older. So when I do work, I don't think about the number of hours I do work. or reason about the number of hours. I reason about how much value I've provided. So for example, what we just did now, it took like an hour. But this is gonna, if this becomes a thing, like if this would even become like the default thing for Mobx, imagine how much time we're gonna save in developer time, not having to deal with these observers, and not just like literally code, but also like just the shared joy of writing Mobx apps is gonna be increased a lot. So this is like, I can take a year off just spending this 1 hour. Like I can't practically do that, but that's how I think about it. A challenging thing though would be the well, I guess not. Like I was thinking about LLMs, but they don't really care, I think. Let's see. So let's close down that one. Oh, we should also I updated to include with exclude paths. Let's see. Copy link address. Mobx. With exclude paths and then a couple of PRs for docs. And that would be Igor. So it was 45, 41, and then we have 45, 42. Okay, that was that. And let's move to some coding. Oh, there was a message for me. Just 2 seconds. Just in case I'm having some look. I just have text message. Oh, it was just a dentist appointment thing. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, let's pick up the pace. That was like a Zen session. So now we're going to implement, so we have the query here. Now we're going to implement the mutation thing. So we're still going to have T. Let's see how this actually was implemented in Impact. So mutation is this thing where you can pass in a function that performs a mutation. The interesting thing is that the params you pass into this mutation is going to be returned as optimistic data. So when it's like a pending mutation, you have access to the arguments you passed to the mutation, so that you can actually use that information to render optimistic information in the component. It's very nice way to handle optimistic data. I was just completely mind blown by the approach to it when I saw it in React Query, because I've always like, but it's been easier with Firebase, right? First of all, Firebase is insanely fast, so you might not even need optimistic updates. But if you do, you can create the ID on the client. But if you can't do that, if you do rely on actually sending the mutation to the server before you update your local state or like refetch the data, then yeah, you this is such a good way to do it. Anyways, so this mutation is actually not gonna, like, the T here is really yeah, what is the T here? I think we're gonna have two things here. So it's gonna be, and I think I'm gonna force you to do an object here. And the reason for that is it's just better. Instead of passing like multiple arguments, it's gonna be one. It's gonna be called params. So type params is a record string, any, I guess. And then you're gonna have P extends params, and then you're gonna have T, which is the return type. So mutator, and this is gonna have params, maybe. It doesn't necessarily have that. I think maybe this needs to be like a type override kind of thing. We're gonna check that. And then this returns T. And then we're gonna have a similar kind of query state. Yeah, I think we're gonna do the same thing here. Let's just copy the whole thing and then take a look. So let's call it internal state. Let's see. And then we have pending, resolved, rejected. That's true. But this actually has an idle state as well. So I'm still not sure about this. If we should have, if it makes sense to have these kinds of explicit states, or it makes more sense to have an API where, so let's just play around with it. So function state reactive. So you have like to-dos will be reactive.query fetch to-dos, and then you have like return state and function fetch to-dos under here, where you do something like this. Oh, sorry. The question is, what do you actually get on state.todos, right? So here you're getting like an actual status, but I'm not sure if that actually makes sense. I wonder if we should rather have like is revalidating. We're still gonna type it explicitly, but we're not gonna have explicit types. So that means we're not gonna actually have a status, because this thing is a little bit quirky, because yeah, it's so tricky, because it starts in a pending state, but it isn't actually fetching. It's only when you call fetch. So this is what I'm wondering. I think maybe we need to have like consuming functions here. So either you have to fetch, or you have to get the promise. So you choose to get, because now you can consume this data management in your state management as well. So you might want to actually just use the promise. But still you want to like revalidate directly. Yeah, I'm not sure how you want to consume this. It's a very tricky API to design. Because when you consume from, you don't want to do the fetching immediately, or you might want to do it, but then you actually fetch it, right? But then if you don't do that, there's a risk you go in a component and just check the status. Oh, it's pending, so I'm just gonna return a loading state. But you actually have to start the fetch. But it's weird to call fetch every time, right? It feels like you're fetching it every time. So it's almost like when you do .todos, you have to choose how do you want to consume the query. Do you want to consume it from a component, which means that you actually get these different revalidating, is revalidating, and so on, or do you want to consume it as a promise? So it's almost like todos use or state todos promise, or await or something. How do I want to ask GPT about this. If I have in JavaScript, if I have a method that returns a promise, what is the typical name for that method? So for example, await query.promise, await query dot await. Like, what is a good name to retrieve the promise? Exec. I don't like any of these because they're not actually executing anything. My problem is that the method should not reflect executing anything. It is grabbing the current promise of. Yeah, it's like, it's not even the promise, it's the, so we are, yeah, I'm having a really hard time designing this. Like React query is only using React, right? But we have to create something that is just as intuitive to consume in React as in your state management. So like, forget about React. Like if state.todos is a query, how would you await those to-dos? Like, would you just do get? Yeah, I guess you would do that. Await state to-dos get. Just like you can do, because you also want to be able to just update the query, right? So you also want to do state to-dos set. Well, that's the thing, you don't want to do set. I think what you really want is like promise. But then if you want to set something, you want to check the status if it's fulfilled. like maybe you want to do a local optimistic update. Then you just want to point to the value, right? Yeah, but then you use get, right? So you don't have a setter, you just have get. And then you get the actual value. And then you can make changes to it. Yeah. So there's two ways to do this. You can either use the to-dos, which gives you the actual, like, but then again, do you want to know in your, no, I don't quite like this, because they also have some shared stuff. Like this is just will fetch if not fetched. The same here, will fetch if not fetched. But you also have these like shared variables, like is revalidating. What was the other things? Calling revalidate, for example. You should be able to do that. Yeah, but then, yeah, and the problematic thing is like use is gonna, yeah, this is really tricky. Like, how do you make it intuitive? That it's gonna, like, because you have access to the query state directly on to-dos. Like you have access to everything here. You have the status and everything. So like, and then you call use and you just get the same queries back. It's weird. But I guess that can just be documented. And then get is like, yeah, maybe fetch and promise is good. But it doesn't have to be a, no, it has to be a function because you want to start a fetch. Yeah, yeah, I'm on the fence about this one. I'm not sure how we should do this. Like it's such a powerful primitive, but it's, yeah, it's difficult to design it. I don't like implicit behavior. That's the thing. And the implicit behavior here is that it starts fetching just because you're grabbing the promise, or you're like, it makes sense to call fetch to actually fetch if it's not fetched. But like running that again and again inside React, that doesn't make sense because you're saying that you want to fetch it. That's why I think they started using read instead. Because it implies that, yeah, it just implies something else. It doesn't imply that you're actually executing a fetch. So this is what they proposed initially for the resource thing when they started working on suspense. So you would kind of read a resource. But again, that implies that it will throw to suspense. Yeah, no, not necessarily. Yeah, I kind of wanna, like, I think it's much better to have, like, you have to access the query. Like, there's two ways to access the query. You can access it from a component, or you can access it from state management, external state management. And they're relatively similar. It's just that when you access it from state management, you'll be working with a promise. And when you read it from a component, you won't be using the promise. But it's also, okay, we just have to talk through this. This is just so tricky. So I don't want to do, yeah, okay, so I think the most important thing is like that you actually force the fetch. So that needs to sit behind two methods. Like if we just expose the state to dos like we do now, the status, there is a risk that you won't have, that you get into a bad state. Like you're just checking the status if it's pending. So you're not forced to actually execute the query, right? I guess we could do something like, we could put a getter around the status. So when you access the status, we start the fetch. Or if you access, we can put a getter around the promise. So if you access the promise, we'll start a fetch. Or you call revalidate, we'll start a fetch. Like we could do that. We could put getters around all of them. But that's also very implicit. I don't like that. I like that you say what you want to do. So if that's going to be the goal of this design, you should, like, we're not going to get to the mutation. That's for sure. Oh my god, API design is so difficult. So if we actually had an idle state, it would be different. But we can have an idle state, because if you then call fetch and we flip to pending, then it's gonna reconcile again. So it has to start in pending and stay in pending when you start the fetch. But then we have to make sure that if you do any interaction with the query, you have to start the fetch, or it won't, like, it just doesn't make any sense. But you should still be aware of when you actually start the fetch. So that's the weird thing about this promise thing. It's like, oh, I'm just grabbing the promise of the fetch, but you're not doing that. You're actually fetching. So if you have fetch here, it should be fetch. Yeah, I guess you would do this instead, right? Something like that. So you do have just a promise. So the promise is in the function. Yeah, it would, at least it needs to be like that. So that's an improvement. But it's also weird that you, And then we have to make sure that what you get back here is, what do you actually get back here? Do you get back the actual value? Yeah, I guess you do. Yeah, or you would just call revalidate directly on it. Okay, so what if fetch returns the status? Okay, so if you have state to do's, you'll have revalidate there. You'll have fetch. But you will not have status and you will not have promise. You won't have the actual query state. You have to call fetch to get the query state, which you can get as a promise, or you can look at the status. Okay, so we're gonna make that change first, because at least it's better, I think. So promise is not gonna be, so this is the query. We need to make the promise part of the status. So we're gonna do and is revalidating. It's also part of like the actual status. So we're gonna create a base object here. That base object is gonna have a promise. So this is the actual status. And then we're gonna guarantee that when you actually get the status, we have a pending in a promise. What's it called? A query in flight. So then we have fetch, revalidate. Yeah, and both of these are gonna, like, and we could call this read now, for example. Let's try that. Read. So it implies more that you're trying to access the value, right? Which makes it more implicit that if you try to read a value and it hasn't been fetched, it's gonna fetch it. But when you say fetch, you say that you're actually gonna fetch it. So this is not gonna return, so this is gonna return actual status, right? And this is not gonna include the status. Yeah, I like this much better. So now we have to say that this is the actual, let's call this query state. And this is gonna have, this is not gonna have this status stuff. So we're gonna have another, let's just okay. Status is also reactive. This is gonna be status T. And this is gonna be pending. It's gonna start there. Oh, what you're complaining? Oh yeah, sorry. It's revalidating. True. But then what is the promise? Okay, so we, how can we do this dynamically? So we're, yeah, let's do status T or null. It's gonna start out as null. And then this is not gonna have pending or is revalidating, no promise. It's just gonna have read. So this is gonna be read. And then we have update state. So we can call this update status now because that's what we're actually gonna do. And this is gonna be a partial status, I think. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. Let's see if we can get this running. So let's start at the beginning. I'm gonna call read, right? And when I call read, yeah, and here we're just gonna check if we have a status. If status, return status, right? But how would I? Yeah, no, that's fine. We're gonna return status. So this is gonna return a status of T. And then if we don't have a status, we're gonna say status equals run. Yeah, I don't think we actually need. So this run thing, that's the thing that's gonna actually. Maybe we don't need this internal state now, because now it's based on us having a status or not. So maybe we don't actually need it. But we still need the abort controller and the promise. Okay, I think we still need that. Okay, I think we're gonna put the actual status. Yeah, we're gonna put the actual query status. Yeah, let's call this rename current, and then this is gonna be status. Yeah. Okay, we're getting there. So we're not gonna have this. So the current internal state is idle. So when we run, we can check if the current state is active, and if, okay, so if, what are we gonna call this? We're not gonna call it run. Like it's if internal state current equals active, we're gonna return internal state dot status. And if we don't have that, so so I think what we want to do is internal state current equals active, or we're gonna. The problem with run is that it's also used by revalidate. So I'm a little bit how are we gonna write this? So this is more like creating a new. God damn it. Or we're gonna say internal state equals current active. No, we're gonna run. Yeah, and this is gonna return our new internal state. And then we can say internal state. Yeah, and run is always gonna return an internal state of active. Active internal state. Then we have active internal state or idle internal state, which doesn't take this. Idle internal state equals this, and then this takes a t. Okay, so this is our internal state, but then run is gonna return active internal state. Always. And this is gonna, like, maybe we should call this maybe we should call this one fetch. So if the internal state is active, we're gonna abort the current promise, and then we're gonna create a new abort controller. Yeah, and then if the signal is aborted, meaning we are gonna, like, it's been run again, maybe called revalidate or something, we're just gonna return the value. But then we're gonna update the status, and updating the status, yeah, so the status here is gonna be, okay, we need to create this new state first. New internal state. So let's do, no, we can't do that either, because we have to, I don't want this implicit thing where, because the signal has been aborted, like if I create a reference to the internal state up here, it would work, but it only works because I implicitly know that I have the same internal state reference if the signal hasn't been aborted. If it's been aborted, the internal state has changed. But I need that status to be, yeah, okay, so, oh, yeah, sorry. So here we have the promise, that's fine. So the status here would be update status, actually. Yeah. And we're gonna call this true, like it's always revalidate. So we don't have, yeah, but this is the problem. Like, how do I do revalidate? Oh, interesting. So revalidate, well, it should return a status. Well, that's not true. Oh, sorry, what's this? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and if it's, oh yeah, sorry. So if it's idle, we're gonna read it. Yeah, sorry. And then, so here we're gonna fetch again. But now we actually want to move into an is revalidating state. But this fetch is now returning the status. And I'm wondering if it shouldn't do that. But isn't it always reval? Yeah, so the thing is, like, sometimes we want this status to stay in resolved because we're in the background, we're revalidating. So I can't choose this here. And this needs to have the promise. This is goddamn. Ah. Maybe I just have to. I could pass the status for the fetch. So either I pass the existing status, or we're gonna pass a new status. Yeah, I think that makes most sense. So this takes a status of t, so that here we're just gonna. The problem though is that we want to change the promise. But you know what we can do instead? We can make that yeah. We can make that property a getter. We can make that property a getter, because then it always returns. Yeah, but you could have issues with references and stuff. What do we want to do with that promise? I don't like that promise. What are we gonna do with you, promise? Like, what I can do is I can say like status promise. I can do that. So you're passing in. Yeah, and here it kind of needs to be. This sucks. This is just. This is some complex state handling. This is very annoying. And every time it gets like this unintuitive, it feels like I'm doing something wrong. It shouldn't be this hard. But sometimes also doing something very hard in the internals makes an amazing experience in the and consuming it. So so we do want to update the status here, but this status relies on, well, you know what we could also do is revalidating. We could just do that. And then where do we create this? And we just do this. Oh, sorry. Sorry, the status. Well, no. Ah. Oh, wait a minute. I know if it's... Wait, I know if it is... Yeah, sorry. I know if it is... Yeah, sorry. We are just gonna keep the internal state. Oh, don't you know that here? Didn't I just check it? Internal state current active. Oh, sorry, I'm letting it through. Yeah, okay, sorry. So we're gonna do internal state current equals idle. So if it hasn't done anything yet, we don't have a status. So we need to create the status. Yeah. So we need to create a reactive status of status pending promise is revalidating. We're gonna have true on that one. But now we're gonna do update status. So we are gonna pass in the existing status, which we now have. Like that. And then we're going to say whatever we want to say. Status. Yeah, and this is not going to be a partial anymore. We're actually going to pass in the full status. This makes more sense. And this is not going to be query state. This is going to be prev. Yeah, and then the update. So this is going to be any prev. So this, we need to do this just because it's like Mobx. Okay, but this makes more sense, I think. So we want to say resolved. Well, this is the issue. Yeah, sorry. So we're gonna keep the same. So if it's idle, we're gonna put it in pending. But if it's not idle, it means that it's either resolved or it's rejected. And then we just want to keep the same status, actually. But we're going to give it a new promise. And we're going to say, what happened here? Oh. Okay. So we really just want to keep the same status. But we're going to give it a new promise and is revalidating true. Why isn't this... there's a prettier arrow here. Oh, look at this. So when we start fetching, we make it active. We have an abort controller and a promise. And then we create a status. If it's idle, we're going to create the first status, which is pending. We have the promise for it. And we have is revalidating. And then if we're not idle, we're actually active, which means that it's actually Yeah, sorry, it's resolved or it's rejected, which means that we just want to update the status. So we're giving it the current status. Yeah, but like, do we? Yeah, but I think this is fine. And then we pass it the internal state. But this is wrong because now we're adding. No, we're keeping the same. So if it's in rejected, it will still be rejected. But it will now have a new promise. This is so weird. Like, what does this mean? Like, what if I'm rejected and I do like revalidate? And then I go in and I read it and the status is rejected. And then I like await the promise and that works because it's revalidating. Like, does that mean that revalidating is really only about if it's currently resolved, let's just update the value in the background. If it's rejected, we want to move into pending again. Like, does it even make sense to revalidate a rejected query? I don't think you ever want to do that. Like, do you still want to show the error? That's weird. Okay, or internal state status dot status equals rejected. Well, okay. Oh my god, this is. So if it's idle, we want to create the initial status. And then if not, we want to update the status. The question is, what do we want to update it to? So if it's rejected, we want to update it to status pending again. And is revalidating true. We still want to give it a promise. And then if it's not rejected, it's actually resolved. But it could be. Okay, but this is fair. So this status could be pending or resolved. And in that case, we just want to keep that same. So if you revalidate when you're pending, because that could happen, right? You might be, so maybe it was rejected. And then you call revalidate and it moves into pending, and you call revalidate again while it's pending. It will still be pending, right? And then, but if it was resolved and you call revalidate, it's gonna stay in resolved. Oh my god. And then we want to say here, yeah, so this is a little bit tricky because now in this scope, we don't know if we have, like, which internal state are we going to point to? You know what? I think we're going to actually make these bound. So we say new internal state. And then we're going to do. Yeah, and then we're going to say fetcher. Oh, but Oh no, yeah, we can do that. So then we have, wait, we have multiple promise references here. Oh my fucking god. Okay, this is starting to get annoying. Like I have to put it down here and then new internal state, but then I have to like be able to point to it up here. Oh, new active internal state, sorry. And then status. So we need to do like, oh, we should do, and then promise, and then is revalidating false. Yeah, I don't like this. So what happens now is that this promise has like this implicit reference to new internal state. They do belong together. So that makes sense. Yeah, so we didn't actually have to. This is also interesting because we're changing the internal state. So if I were to no, yeah, because this is the tricky thing. Like, yeah, I don't like this implementation. But now we have like we're creating a new internal state every time, but the status will be the same reference. Because we have to do that because of mutation. Yeah, it's yeah. I'm not sure. I have to think about this one, and I guess I have to stop the stream. I have some stuff I need to do. Oh, what's happening to my? Oh, is it the lighting? Oh, that's interesting. Is it? Oh, the sun is reflecting on my. Oh shit! Like the sun is like through my. It's like shining through my green screen. Like we haven't had sun for like half a year. Yeah, I have to put something. I need to buy something to prevent that from happening. But okay, so as a conclusion, I was very annoyed here. I need to reflect a little bit on this implementation, but I think it makes sense so that when you're actually consuming the query, you're always calling read first, unless you want to just revalidate it, right? So you read it to get the status, and when you read it, it's going to perform the fetch. if it hasn't done so already. And what you get back is a pending state, or you get back the status of the query, where you can check if it's actually pending, if it's resolved, or if it's rejected. And this status is gonna, whenever it updates, it's gonna reconcile whatever it's looking at it in terms of components. And then if you want to look at the query in your actual state management, you'll also call read. But you would do, and you can check the status and everything there if that's what you want to do. But typically you would then want to point to the promise. So you just await the actual like dot promise. But what's interesting about it is that in your state management, if you want to update, so if you actually want to like explicitly wait for the query to be ready to do something, you await the promise, right? But if you want to update the query with some like local, like maybe you have a subscription to some data, what you can do then is read it, and then you can check its status. Like if it's resolved, well, maybe you would actually await the promise. Yeah, sorry. No, you would of course await the promise, and then you get the value back, right? You get maybe an array or something, and then you can just but what I wonder is, will that become reactive? I guess it will. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, so you would await the promise, and then you would just go in and update the value. So you can just do mutations on it if you want to do that. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna stop the stream, but we're gonna start playing with this. But this is like very, very tricky. But it says a lot about what you have to think about, right? When you do data management. Especially when you want to do data management across, like you want to do mutable data management across external and in React, and it's all gonna be completely seamless. Yeah, no, I think we're at a point where we actually just have to play with it to evaluate if it's good or not. So we're gonna do that, but I have to get some other stuff done first. So I'm not sure if there's gonna be a more. Yeah, it'll probably be tomorrow morning. Updated query, and then yeah, we'll move from there, I guess. But yeah, cool. Bye for now. Have a nice day. See ya.